Hello. This presentation is intended for someone who has heard of the profession of prosthetics and orthotics, but is wondering what it takes to become a certified clinician. If you've somehow made it to this video and have never heard of prosthetics and orthotics before, then go ahead and pause the video, Google O&P career, watch a couple videos, and if that intrigues you and you're still interested, then come on back here and watch this. I'm just going to give a high-level overview of the steps that are required from basically high school graduation until you can be an independently practicing clinician in prosthetics and orthotics. My name's Eric Brighton. I'm currently in the middle of that process. I'm a prosthetic resident at Scottish Rite Hospital, which is a children's hospital in Dallas, Texas. So let's go ahead and get started. Becoming a O&P professional is as easy as A, B, C, and D. The first step is to, after graduating from high school, is to go to college and get a bachelor's degree while completing certain prerequisite courses. After that, you have to go and get a master's degree in O&P, which is offered at 12 different programs across the country. Then you have to complete your residencies in prosthetics and orthotics. And lastly, you have to pass some board exams. So let's sort of delve into each one of those. The first one is going to college and getting a bachelor's degree. The great news there is that because O&P is a graduate level program, that much like medicine, you can major in whatever you want. So when you go off to college, pick a major that interests you, that you're excited about, whether it's something in engineering or math, or something more like history or English. It could be something in the sciences, something in the arts. Really, my classmates, we varied from physics majors and neuroscience to lots of engineers and a couple people even in other fields entirely. The important thing is that while you're getting that degree, you have certain prerequisites that you'll have to get. So basically, each program of those 12 that I mentioned has their own set of prerequisites, but in general, they overlap in that you'll need some biology, you'll need chemistry, and you'll need physics. They all recommend anatomy and physiology. Some of them require it. You'll need to take some amount of psychology classes, and almost all of them have some sort of math requirement, whether that's college algebra, and then most of them want you to have been exposed at least to statistics. Now these courses, again, each school has a little bit different requirements, not something you'd have to look into, but some of them require as few as 3 credit hours, which is equivalent to just one class that you take during one semester. And some of them will require more, up to 8 hours, which would be, somewhere between 2 and 3 classes. But you can count on taking these. If you major in something like engineering or one of the sciences, chances are you'd cover this anyways. If you do something like history or English, then you just need to fit those in throughout the 4 years that you're getting your degree, which isn't hard to do. So step 1, get a bachelor's degree. Next, after that, as you're graduating from your undergraduate degree, after your bachelor's degree, you'll need to be looking at and applying to one of the master's programs which are offered at 12 different schools. Here's kind of an overview of where they are currently. They're sort of spread out all over the country. So if you need to pause it right here and take a look and see if there's one near where you live, or if there's a state you've always wanted to live in, now would be a good time to do that. I'm from Texas, and so it worked out for me, and I went to University of Texas Southwestern Medical Center, which is located in Dallas, which is where I still am doing my residency, just down the street from there. But yeah, these are where those programs are. And these programs can last anywhere from 18 or 19 months up to 3.5 years. So they come in different formats. Some of the vast majority of them are full-time on-campus programs, but there are a couple of exceptions. The one offered through Minnesota is actually primarily online, but does require you to do a lot more prerequisites, technical prerequisites. And then the program at Baylor is one of the longer ones because it actually integrates the next step, which is the residency, into the graduate program. And each of these programs has a different class size. So some of them take about 12 people a year, and the largest one, which is Northwestern in Chicago, takes up to 48 people a year. So you can expect, depending on where you go, to be in a cohort of 12 to 20 to almost 50, just depending on where you decide to go. And then the third step, after you graduate from your master's program, you go on to do a residency. Now that's the step where I am right now. And you have two main options. You can do a residency that is just prosthetics for a year, followed by a residency that's just orthotics for a year. Or a lot of people now are choosing an option to do one 18-month residency where you're doing both at the same time. It really just depends on what works for you and what the place, wherever you decide to do your residency, what their preference is as well. Pros and cons to both options. But during that prosthetic residency, you'll get experience with all different types and levels of devices, from partial feet and below knee, above knee, partial hand, below elbow, above elbow, and there's even more. And of course, besides just learning about these devices, you get exposed to the whole continuum of care, from evaluation all the way through fabricating and delivering devices, and learning what it's like to practice in the modern clinic. Of course, the orthotic residency is very similar. On that side, you'll be making custom braces for people with all kinds of different diagnoses and conditions, from foot orthoses all the way up to ankle AFOs, knee ankle foot orthoses, scoliosis bracing, upper limb bracing, back, neck braces, and there's a whole lot more, which is much beyond the scope of this presentation. But in summary, after you graduate from your grad school program, you go and do either 1 year residency in prosthetics and then orthotics, or in the opposite order, or you can choose to do it just in 18 months, both. And lastly, once you've finished your residency, then you just need to sit for your board exams. So to sort of make it a little bit more complicated and sort of step back, actually right when you graduate from grad school, you can go ahead and take your first board exam, which is they're now offering a combined written exam, which tests the book knowledge. And like I said, as soon as you graduate, you're eligible to take that, and you could do that portion of it. Then the other exams, after you finish each residency, you'll have 2 exams associated with that material. So for example, when I finish my prosthetic residency here in a couple months, I can sign up for and then take a written simulation exam and an in-person practical exam in prosthetics. And once I've passed those, then I can become certified as a prosthetist. And I'll go through that whole process as I'm finishing my orthotic residency next year. The written simulation exam is kind of like a choose your own adventure exam, where you're presented with a clinical situation. You'll have multiple options to choose all that are appropriate, and you sort of work your way through a decision-making matrix to see how well you're able to problem solve and form treatment plans. And then the third and last test is a practical exam that's actually held in person. Right now they do it in Florida, and so you fly out there for a couple of days, and you actually get to see and treat some model patients, some people who actually bring in, and they get to see your hand skills that you developed during residency. So you do those board exams both for prosthetics and for orthotics. So once you've passed each set of board exams, then you're certified, and you're able to begin to practice independently, and that really marks what is the starting line for a really rewarding career. So hopefully that answers some of your questions about, if you've heard of O&P, what it would take, the basic steps to become a certified O&P practitioner. I want to leave you just with a couple of resources if you want to look into it some more. Here's several websites that publish information. opcareers.org is dedicated specifically just to career awareness. NCOPE is the organization that oversees the schools and the educational process as well as the residency. So they've got details about the different programs and about residency. The American Board for Certification, so abcop.org, tells you more about some of the exams that you'll have to take, as well as kind of how to maintain your certification once you get there. And lastly, a little website, an informational website that I've made is just ompschools.com. And on there you can find a couple blog posts and a couple spreadsheets that I've made that just compare the different programs and help you make that decision once you get there. So if what you've heard in this presentation has been helpful and you'd like even more details, I have a blog post that really breaks those 4 steps down even further and tells you specifically what things to consider as you're approaching each step in the process of becoming certified. And then there's a couple of spreadsheets that compare the costs of the programs currently and as well as their curriculum. So I hope you found that helpful. If you are considering entering the field and you have any more questions, I think this is a great career, and I'm always more than happy to respond to prospective future clinicians. So shoot me an email. There's my email address, and I wish you the best.